The wind was harsh that morning, cold enough to cut through the layers of worn cotton draped over Martha's frame. She adjusted the oversized sunglasses shielding her tired eyes and walked into the marble-floored lobby of the renowned Elkridge Towers. A five-star luxury hotel known for its elite clientele and meticulously polished image. She looked out of place, her coat was faded, her boots scuffed and her hair messily tied back. She carried no designer luggage, just a tattered canvas bag slung over one shoulder. Behind the front desk, the receptionist, Paula, barely glanced up before she plastered on a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Yes? Can I help you?" "I'd like to get a room for the night," Martha said politely. Paula hesitated, looking the woman up and down. "We're fully booked, unfortunately." Martha looked around. The lobby was quiet. A bellhop stood idle by the luggage trolley, and only a couple of guests were seated, quietly enjoying their complimentary mimosas. "Really?" she asked. "There doesn't seem to be much activity." "Well, we're preparing for a private event. It's a busy time. No vacancies." Paula's smile stiffened. "May I just use the restroom then? I've been walking for a while." There was a pause. "Fine. It's down the hall to your left. Please don't take too long." Martha nodded her thanks and walked away. Minutes later, as she returned, she was met by a tall man in a tailored navy blue suit. His name tag read, Daniel, hotel manager. His eyes narrowed the moment they locked onto her. "Excuse me," he said, turning to Paula. "Who is this woman?" "She came in asking for a room," Paula explained quickly. "I told her we're fully booked. She just needed the restroom." Daniel's lips tightened. "Did she pay? Is she a guest?" "No. But she seemed harmless and you let her in anyway?" Daniel's voice grew sharp. "This is a luxury hotel, Paula. We don't let just anyone off the street walk in here like it's a public library." "She wasn't doing anything wrong," Paula mumbled. Martha stepped forward. "Is there a problem?" "Yes, ma'am," Daniel said, folding his arms. "You're not a guest and we have policies. This isn't a shelter. We can't just have people loitering." "Loitering?" Martha blinked. "I asked for a room. Was denied. Then asked to use the restroom." Daniel ignored her. "You need to leave. Now." "I see. Because of how I look?" she asked calmly. "You don't look like someone who belongs here," he snapped. "And frankly, you're making guests uncomfortable." "That's quite an assumption," she said quietly. Her voice was calm, but Paula began to sense a shift in the atmosphere. Daniel continued, oblivious. "People pay thousands to stay here. They expect a certain environment. You don't fit that." Paula cleared her throat, hesitating. "Sir, maybe she—" "Enough, Paula. Don't make it worse." Martha looked between them, then stepped back and reached into her bag. She pulled out a slim leather folder and handed it to Paula. Daniel's frown deepened. "What is this supposed to be? Why don't you take a look?" Martha said evenly. Paula opened the folder and her eyes widened. Inside was an ID badge and official documentation. Her hand began to tremble. Daniel grabbed it, his eyes scanning the text. His face drained of color. Janet Martha Quinn. CEO. Quinn Holdings. Owner of Elkridge Hotels. Martha took off her sunglasses and gave them both a long, pointed look. "You've both made yourselves very clear. And now so have I." Daniel's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. The folder in his hand felt suddenly radioactive. Paula stood frozen, still holding the ID as if she feared it might evaporate in her grasp. The silence that settled over the grand lobby was heavier than the marble pillars surrounding them. I didn't realize," Daniel finally stammered. "Miss Quinn, I had no idea. If I had known." "That's exactly the problem," Martha said, her voice cutting but calm. "If you had known who I was, you'd have rolled out the red carpet. But because I looked like someone who couldn't afford your overpriced suites, you tried to throw me out like garbage." Daniel paled further. "I was only trying to uphold the standards of the hotel. Our image, the brand." "You insulted a guest, Daniel," she interrupted. "I came here undercover to see exactly this. How staff treat people who don't fit your shallow standards of acceptable. And congratulations, you failed spectacularly." He reached out instinctively, maybe to plead, maybe to soften the blow, but she stepped back. "No touching. That privilege expired when you told me I didn't belong here. Please, Miss Quinn, this isn't what it looks like. I've always been loyal to the hotel. I care about this brand, its success. I was just trying to protect it." Martha's eyes flashed. "Protect it from what? From someone who didn't walk in wearing Gucci? From a woman who looks over 40? From people who don't wear their bank balance on their face. Paula finally found her voice. Miss Quinn, I want to say I'm sorry. I should have tried harder. I knew something didn't feel right. You gave me the restroom key, Martha said, her tone softening slightly. And that tiny act of decency saved your job. Barely. Daniel looked like he might collapse. But you? Martha turned her full attention to him. You didn't even hesitate to judge, did you? You never asked who I was. You just decided based on how I looked. And worse, you made Paula feel small for showing basic humanity. That's not leadership. That's arrogance. And it has no place in my company. Daniel swallowed. Please don't fire me. I've worked here for 10 years. Then you should have learned something about dignity in all that time, Martha snapped. But you didn't. Instead, you embarrassed this brand, humiliated a guest, me, and reinforced every toxic stereotype this industry needs to tear down. At that moment, the head of housekeeping walked by, saw the tension and hesitated. It's fine, Maria, Martha said, waving her off. Actually, wait, on second thought, can you ask security to join us in the lobby? Daniel stiffened. Security? Martha nodded. Yes. You'll need help cleaning out your office. You're firing me? Just like that. His voice cracked. Not just like that. Because of that. Because you made it very clear what kind of culture you promote here. You don't represent this company anymore. He turned to Paula, panic in his eyes. You're not going to say anything? I trained you. Paula looked down. You trained me to be afraid of compassion. Daniel stared for a moment, his face blank with disbelief. Then he turned and walked toward the elevator, his footsteps echoing against the polished floor. Martha let out a breath, long and slow, as if releasing a weight she hadn't realized she'd been carrying. She turned to Paula. Your instincts were right. You just didn't trust them enough. But that can change. I'm ready to change, Paula said quickly. I don't want to be like him. You won't be. But you'll need to do better. And you'll be trained properly. Diversity, inclusion, respect. Real values, not just buzzwords slapped on a brochure. Paula nodded eagerly. Yes, absolutely. Good. Because the next person who judges someone on their appearance in this hotel will be shown the door before they can blink. Martha looked around the lobby again, the same polished floor, the same glass chandeliers. But everything felt different now. She could see clearly who had character and who only wore it like a name tag. She walked over to the reception desk, brushed the dust off the guest book and said, Let's find me a room. One with a view. I plan to stay and observe a little longer. That afternoon, the entire atmosphere of Elkridge Towers began to shift. Word had spread like wildfire among the staff. Janet Martha Quinn, CEO of the hotel chain, had just fired their manager in the middle of the lobby. Some of the employees were shaken. Others, relieved. Whispers trailed behind her as she walked the hallways, though no one dared speak to her directly. Except one. Miss Quinn? A timid voice called out as she stepped into the hallway outside her suite. Martha turned to see a young bellhop, Jared, his name tag read. Barely out of his teens, probably working the job to cover college or family bills. He looked nervous, wringing his cap in his hands. Yes. I just wanted to say thank you. For what you did. With Mr. Daniels, I mean. A lot of us, we saw things. But no one ever said anything. Martha narrowed her eyes slightly. What sort of things? Jared hesitated. He was harsh. Especially with people like housekeeping staff. Immigrants. Older workers. He used to say things like, they make the lobby look like a train station. He'd move them to night shifts so guests wouldn't see them. Martha clenched her jaw. Why didn't anyone report him? We tried. HR would just forward complaints to him. And then things would get worse. Hours cut. Shifts doubled. One guy quit on the spot after Daniels yelled at him in front of a wedding party. Martha nodded slowly, anger bubbling inside her. Not just at Daniel, but at the broken system that had let him thrive for so long. Well, thank you for speaking up now, she said gently. That matters. It tells me not everyone here has gone blind. Jared smiled a little. If there's anything I can do to help fix things. There is, Martha said. You just did. As she returned to her suite, she made a call, straight to her executive office downtown. Deborah? I want HR from all divisions audited. Every hotel. No exceptions. If there are cover-ups, I want names. Also, bring in a new training team. We're rebooting everything from top to bottom. That evening, as the hotel prepared for a corporate reception, originally intended to honor high-performance staff, including Daniel, Martha made an unscheduled appearance. The ballroom was already buzzing. Waitstaff in white gloves carried silver trays, guests in sleek suits chatted beneath chandeliers, and a jazz quartet played quietly in the corner. When Martha entered, the room fell into a hush. Whispers turned to gasps when the CEO took the mic at the podium. "Good evening," she began, looking out across the sea of carefully curated faces. "I hadn't planned to speak tonight. But then again, I hadn't planned to be treated like a beggar this morning either." A few guests exchanged awkward glances. "I went undercover in my own hotel today. Dressed plainly. No assistant. No limo. And what I learned was disturbing. The man you all know as Manager Daniel, he's no longer employed here." Gasps rippled through the crowd. "I discovered that image here is considered more important than integrity. That some of you only offer kindness if you think the person you're speaking to can benefit you. That stops now." A long pause. She let the silence soak in. "I've always believed in luxury. But luxury should never mean exclusion. Our brand, our reputation, it should be about excellence, not elitism." She looked toward the staff clustered near the back of the room. Paula was there. So was Jared. And others who wore their uniforms like armor, ready for another long night of invisible labor. To the staff here tonight who've shown empathy, who've dared to be decent even when no one was watching, thank you. That's what true class looks like. The applause started small but it grew, especially from the employees. It was the first time in a long while they felt truly seen. And for those who think their job is to police appearances, to gatekeep respect based on fashion, money, or age, you're on notice. Your days of hiding behind your job title while demeaning others are over. She stepped away from the mic, the jazz band frozen in awkward silence. Martha walked straight to the bar and ordered a black coffee. The bartender, older than most there, smiled. "Rough day?" She sipped. "Just another day cleaning house." By the following morning, Elkridge Towers no longer felt like the same hotel. The staff arrived more cautiously than usual, casting wary glances at one another. Everyone had heard some version of the story, the mysterious woman who'd walked in unnoticed, only to reveal herself as the CEO and upend the entire power structure with a few measured words. In the staff lounge, Paula stood by the coffee machine, barely sipping her drink. The air was heavy with anticipation. Who else would be let go? What would this new era mean for them? The door creaked open and in stepped Martha. This time there was no disguise. She wore a navy suit, elegant but simple, and the quiet confidence of someone who knew exactly what she was doing. "Morning," she said like she'd been there every day for years. Everyone straightened. "Relax," she added, holding up a hand. "I'm not here to fire anyone. I just want to talk." There was a beat of silence before Jared offered her a chair. She took it. "I know yesterday came as a shock," she began, scanning the room. "For some of you it was probably terrifying. For others, maybe it felt like long overdue justice." She set her coffee down. "I didn't come undercover because I don't trust you. I came because I needed to know what happens here when no one's looking. And what I saw, what I felt, was a mix of things." Her eyes landed briefly on Paula. "Some kindness. Some cowardice. Some cruelty." Paula's face flushed. "You were afraid, Paula," Martha said gently. "But you still opened the door. You still tried. And that matters." "I didn't try hard enough," Paula whispered. "I let him speak to you like that." I froze. "You're not alone in that. Most people freeze in moments like those. It's what you do after that counts. That's why I'm giving you a second chance." Martha then turned to the others. "We're implementing new training, real training, not some 2-hour slideshow with corporate jargon. It's going to be intense and it's going to challenge everything you think you know about service, respect, and leadership." One of the older housekeepers raised a hand. "And what about promotions? Will that still go to the ones who just smile at rich guests all day?" "No," Martha said firmly. "We're changing that too. From now on, integrity matters more than image. I'll be watching who steps up, who treats others with dignity when no one's clapping." The door opened again and a new man entered. Crisp suit, clipboard in hand. "This is Lionel," Martha said. "Your interim manager. He's here to observe and rebuild, not dictate. Give him your trust, and your feedback. Everything's changing and I need your help to make it stick." After she left, the room didn't feel like it used to. There was no longer a hierarchy built on appearances and fear. There was space now, for voices that had been quiet too long. Later that week, Martha stood by the window of her corner office overlooking the city skyline. She wasn't done, not by a long shot, but this one tasted sweeter than any quarterly profit ever had. Her assistant buzzed in. Miss Quinn, we got another message from that influencer, Jason from New York's downtown hotel. He said he overheard some disrespect toward a new intern and stepped in. Thought you'd want to know. Martha smiled. Jason had been another test. Another undercover receptionist, this time in a fashion branch of her company. And he passed with flying colors. Tell him I saw the footage. He's getting that promotion. She turned back to the window, her reflection clear against the glass now. In a world obsessed with appearance, she'd built an empire on something deeper. And she'd protect it with everything she had. Because power wasn't in money. Or designer suits. It was in the moment someone looked at you and didn't see your worth. Yet you proved them wrong anyway. The empire was hers. But now, finally, so was the truth behind it. The end.